All right, today I'm going to talk about a short concept which is concatenating methods. In Java, there are some classes that return objects with methods that return objects of the same class. For example, if I have string A, if I build a new string, that's going to create an object of type string, A in this case. Now, if I say A dot to uppercase, that will create a new string that will be whatever A was, all uppercase. But that creates a new string. So this to uppercase method actually returns a string. Let's say B. Now, if I say B dot repeat 3, repeat is another string method that returns a string. It repeats the string that B has. It repeats this string 3 times and it creates a new string that is basically the repetition of B 3 times. That's C. And then if I say C, in this case, another string, that replace also returns a string. It actually returns a new string with whatever old letter I had replaced with a new letter, okay, in that string. So what I did here is I created a string A, B, C, and D, and A was the string Chicago. B converted was the whole thing to uppercase. C repeated that 3 times, so Chicago, Chicago, Chicago. And then D replaced the A in Chicago by U, so then it would read Chicago, Chicago or something like that. So I created that. I'm going to print them out. So I'll compile this and execute. And you will see how the first one was Chicago, plain Chicago, then all uppercase, then 3 times, then the A's became U's, Chicago, right? So now you see what that does. Now, in a regular program, there are good reasons to do this if you want to do something with each intermediate step. But if you just really care about, you just really wanted to get to Chicago all in uppercase, repeated 3 times, there's no need to do all this overhead. What you can do instead is concatenate methods. So let's think through this. The first line here. This new string, Chicago, returns an object of type string. So in this object here, I can call any method that I can call from a string object, because this resolves to a string. So I can just quickly say, to uppercase. That's going to return a string, Chicago, and then it's going to make it to uppercase. So that whole thing is still returning a string. Therefore, I can concatenate another method that I can find in string. I can say repeat 3, right? This still returns a string. I'm only creating a string. I'm only creating a string here, calling a string method there, which in turn creates another string. And then I'm calling a string method here, which in turn will create another string in which we can actually replace a letter. So we can do replace A with U, right? And we can do all that in A. And there's really no need for all of these. So you can concatenate methods if you only care about the end product. If you care about any of these intermediate steps, then you should declare a variable. So let's compile this and run it. And here it is, the end product, right? I don't care about the intermediate steps. I only care about Chicago with a U 3 times. And that is how you can concatenate methods. As long as the object, whatever method you call, returns an object of the same type as the object in which you call the method, then it's all fine. Now, for simplicity, usually a lot of people will just do this. We'll just put it there, kind of indent it so you know that it's being called multiple times. And this also works, and it's easier to read. It's easier to read what's happening there. So you can just do that, right? And again, we have our end product, Chicago, with a U and all uppercase. Now, we can create objects in which we can concatenate methods. So for example, in this test concatenate method, this is a very long name for a class, but let's say I have an integer variable, right? So public int a, all right? And then what I will do here, I'm going to create two methods. First one, it's going to be public test concatenate method. So I'm going to return an object of the same kind as this class, right? And it's going to just add 2, for example, add 2. Okay, and it's just that method. And what it does is it says a equals a plus 2. And then I'm going to create another method, public, that also returns test concatenate methods. That's going to be called subtract, and then it's going to take an integer. Just for simplicity, we're going to do this. And that's going to be, what that's going to do is going to say a equals a minus b. For clarity. There are abbreviations for all these things. Let's say we have these methods, okay? Then I'm going to compile this just for to be there. Okay, missing a return statement. Of course, I'm sorry, this is return. Return that, and then this one will return. I'm sorry, this will a equals a plus 2, and then it will return this object. This one will return this object. All right, so if you think about this, right? I am adding 2 to A, and then I'm returning this object, which is of kind test concatenate methods. And I'm subtracting and doing the same here, subtracting whatever you give me and returning that object. So in my main method, I can do something like this. Test concatenate methods A equals new test concatenate methods, right? That will give me a test concatenate methods with an integer a initialized to 0. So then on this one, I can say dot add 2 dot add 2, for example. I'm just calling methods because each one of these methods return, each one of these methods return a test concatenate methods object. So I can add 2, then dot add 2, so that a at this point is 4. Then I can say they subtract 3. And that's going to be, I'm going to concatenate all these methods. And then what I'm going to do, just to make sure that I'm doing the right thing, I'm going to do system.out.println. Let me change the name here. TCM for test concatenate methods, and then I'm going to put tcm.a. I'm going to print that the a value of that TCM. So if everything works as expected, I will have a new test concatenate methods in which I will add 2, which basically adds 2 to a. Then I will add 2 again, which at this point it will add 2 to a. At this point a is going to be 4, and then I'm going to subtract 3, which actually takes that from a, and that's going to be, a should be 1. So let's run it. And here's my number 1 right there. This is my output, by the way. There's a lot of verbose here, but this little editor allows me to show simple examples. So there you have it. This is how you can concatenate methods. Many Java classes have this, in particular the stream class. Also the string class, of course. But in particular, this is useful for the stream class, where we're going to concatenate a lot of methods. And you can create your own classes, like my test concatenate methods, which actually has methods that return the same kind of object that can later be concatenated. Bye.